I could remember. All I want is
In the heart of Seoul City, where the city lights glittered like stars in the night sky, lived a woman named Jung Wyan. She was an ordinary young woman with dreams of a simple life, working as a librarian and surrounded by books that fueled her imagination. Little did she know that her life was about to take a thrilling turn. One chilly evening, Wyan decided to attend a charity event at a luxurious ballroom. The atmosphere was filled with sophistication and the air was heavy with anticipation. Unbeknownst to her, the Mafia leader Park Jimin had been forced to attend the same event by his business partners. Jimin, known as the enigmatic Shadow King, was a man of few words. His sharp, piercing eyes and commanding presence left an indelible mark on everyone he encountered. Tonight, he wore a tailored black suit that accentuated his powerful stature. As he moved through the crowd, whispers followed him like a haunting melody. Wyan, dressed in an elegant gown that flowed around her like a cascade of moonlight, was lost in the sea of people. The event was a blur of laughter and clinking glasses until she found herself near the grand staircase. Unbeknownst to her, Park Jimin was descending the same stairs, his gaze focused and intense. As fate would have it, their paths collided, and in a moment of serendipity, Wyan stumbled, her eyes widening in shock. Jimin instinctively caught her in his arms, the world around them fading into the background. "I'm sorry," Wyan stammered, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "I didn't mean to." Jimin cut her off with a low chuckle. "It's quite all right, miss. I'm sure I've taken people off their feet before." His voice was smooth like warm honey dripping from. Wyan couldn't help but stare up at him, her heart racing. "Thank you. I think I'm okay now." Jimin studied her face for a moment, his gaze boring into her. She felt the weight of his stare as if he could see right through her. He released her slowly, taking a step back. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice low and intense. There was something in the way he said it that made her heart skip a beat. "Yes, I'm fine," she insisted, trying to regain her composure. I wasn't expecting that." He smiled then, revealing a row of perfect white teeth. "Neither was I," he admitted, his voice softening. "You're quite the surprise, miss." The air between them seemed to crackle with an electricity that neither could deny. They stood there, locked in a silent dance of attraction as the rest of the world faded away. Wyan could feel the of his gaze on her, like a branding iron searing its mark into her soul. She wanted to step closer, to feel the strength of him against her once more, but she was afraid of what that might mean. Well, she said, clearing her throat, I should probably find my friends. Jimin nodded, his expression unreadable. Perhaps I'll find you later, he murmured, his voice a low rumble that vibrated through her body. We should talk more. With that, he turned away and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Vian with a racing heart and a strange, unsettling feeling that she would never be able to shake. She did not realize that their accidental meeting would change the course of both their lives forever. Over the next few weeks, she found herself unable to forget about Park Jimin. His presence haunted her dreams, and she found herself thinking about him constantly, wondering what it would be like to see him again. She tried to convince herself that he was just another handsome, powerful man in a world full of them, but deep down, she knew that there was something more to it than that. Finally, she could no longer ignore the pull she felt toward him. With shaking hands, she dialed his number from her phone, praying that he wouldn't think she was some crazy stalker. To her surprise, he answered on the second ring. Vian, he purred into the phone, his voice like silk. I've been expecting your call. How did you get my name and contact details? You'll be amazed by what I can do, beautiful. She felt a shiver run down her spine at the sound of his voice. I wanted to see you again. She stammered, the words stumbling out of her mouth before she could think better of them. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Very well, he said eventually. I have a business meeting tonight, but afterwards, I'd be delighted to take you to dinner. Where would you like to go? Vian blinked, taken aback by his directness. Anywhere you'd like, she managed to say. I'm sure it'd be wonderful. Good. I'll send a car for you at 8. Until then, maybe you should think about what you'd like to discuss over dinner. With that, he hung up the phone, leaving her feeling both exhilarated and what did he mean by that? She wondered. Was there more to this dinner date than just a chance to get to know each other better? The anticipation was. She spent the rest of the day trying to calm her nerves and prepare herself for what was to come. She changed into a silk blouse and a pair of form-fitting trousers that made her feel confident and alluring. As 8 o'clock approached, she heard a discreet knock on her door. A driver in a crisp black suit stood outside, holding open the door of a sleek black limousine. With a deep breath, she stepped inside the car, feeling like Cinderella being swept away to the ball. As the car pulled away from her apartment building, she couldn't help but wonder what the rest of the night had in store for her. Would she be able to handle the mysterious and enigmatic Park Jimin, or would she end up being just another in his game? The car pulled up in front of a 5-star restaurant and the driver opened the door for her. As she stepped out, she could feel Jimin's gaze on her, his eyes raking over her. He held out his arm and she took it, letting him lead her inside. The air inside was heavy with the scent of roses and the gentle hum of conversation. They were shown to a private table in the corner where they sat down across from each other. "Shall we order?" he asked, pouring her a glass of drink. She nodded, taking a sip of her drink. "Yes, please," she managed to say, her throat suddenly dry. "This is quite the surprise." Jimin smiled, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Oh, I like to surprise my guests," he replied, his voice low and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Their dinner progressed and they talked about everything from their favorite books to their childhood memories. Wyan found herself drawn to him, fascinated by his stories and his word. As the night wore on, the conversation became more, and she found herself opening up to him in ways she never had with anyone else. Finally, when dessert arrived, he leaned in closer, his breath tickling her ear. "Wyan," he whispered, his voice with desire, "I've been wanting to ask you something." She swallowed hard, her heart racing. "What's that?" she managed to reply, her voice barely above a whisper. "What do you think of me?" he asked bluntly. "Am I someone you could see yourself with?" Wyan's heart thudded in her chest as she tried to compose her thoughts. She looked into his eyes, searching for any sign of doubt or uncertainty, but found only sincerity and a quiet confidence. I think you're incredible," she managed to say. "You're smart, charming, and very alluring." She swallowed hard, feeling a wave of desire wash over her. "I've never met anyone like you before, Jimin." His eyes darkened, and he reached out to take her hand in his. "I'm glad to hear that," he said, his voice low because I've never met anyone like you either. You're beautiful inside and out, and I can't help but feel a deep connection between us." He leaned in closer, his brushing against her ear. "I want to know everything about you, Wyan. Every thought, every dream, every secret." Her heart raced as she felt it, and she knew in that moment that she was in trouble. Deep down, she knew there was something special between them, but she also knew that getting involved with Park Jimin was a game. Still, she couldn't help but be drawn to him, to the promise of a world she had never imagined existed. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of drink and conversation, with every moment seeming to draw them closer together. "Thank you for a wonderful evening," she breathed, turning to face him as they passed outside her building. "I had a wonderful time." His expression turned serious, and he looked deep into her eyes. "I'm glad," he said softly, "because I want to see you again." He took a step closer and his hand cupped her cheek, his thumb brushing against her. "I want to see much more of you." She shivered at her heart racing with anticipation. I'd like that," she managed to whisper, "very much." He leaned in, his brushing against hers in a soft, gentle as there. She felt a spark between them, and she knew that from this moment on, there was no going back. The future was uncertain, and the stakes were high, but she had given her heart to Park Jimin, and she would follow him wherever he led.
So get wetter, help me say